I'm just going to kick it off with a quick intro about the Architecture Foundation of Oregon, or what we call AFO for short. I am the Education Program Manager. My name is Candace, and here with me is Michelle from Carlton Hart Architecture. We have Cinnamon from NAMAC, Oregon, and then we have Ruan and Ben from PAE, and they're some of our scholarship partners. So they will be here to help answer any questions that you have as well. And really, this info session today is for you. So please just know that we are here to support you throughout this entire scholarship process. So let us know what you need. Put any questions in the chat at any point. So just to share a little bit more about AFO, our mission is to educate and inspire Oregonians of all ages and backgrounds to engage in the design of our built environment. And to share a part of our equity statement, we believe that Oregon is stronger when more people from diverse backgrounds participate in the designing and building of our world. And so one way that we do this is through our scholarship program. Our scholarship program has been around for almost 30 years, which is pretty incredible, and has recently grown thanks to a lot of our partners here on this call. And our scholarships are mostly specialized for people who are underrepresented in design and building fields, so we can work to create a more diverse design and building industry. So if throughout this session you find that you aren't eligible for any of our scholarships, always feel free to reach out to me. I can always be a resource to help point you to some scholarships that you might be eligible for. So as you know, scholarships are currently open for applications. And today what we're really focused on is covering the eligibility, our application requirements, the application process, and then also we'll go over some tips and tricks for actually putting your application together. That'll be the second half of this portion. So really, as I mentioned before, the goal is to get all of your questions answered. So at any point, put questions in the chat and we'll have 2 points throughout today to really get through all of those questions. And this QR code on the screen will lead you to the AFO scholarship page, our website, and it's really a great one-stop shop to get all the information you might need about all of our scholarships. So we have 6 $5,000 to $10,000 scholarships for students studying design and building degrees in Oregon, and in some cases beyond Oregon, for the PAE Diversity and Engineering Scholarship. So let's go ahead and just dive into each one. So I will kick it off by starting with the Hatfield Architectural Award. This is our longest standing scholarship, and it was established in honor of Oregon Senator Mark Hatfield, who was super committed to community service and also had a great interest in architecture. So really this award is intended to support an Oregon architecture student with huge passion for serving their community and doing that community service piece. So it's a $5,000 scholarship. It's open to undergraduate and graduate architecture students at PSU or U of O. And it is one of our only scholarships open to students who are graduating this year. So if you are currently a senior graduating 2025 spring, you may be eligible for this scholarship. So just keep that in mind. And then touching again on the community service piece, the selection committee really likes to see that your community service is self-motivated and not something that you were asked to do in class or was a classroom assignment. So keep that in mind. If you're really able to show your ongoing commitment to community service and you're an architecture student at PSU, Portland State University, or University of Oregon, then you're a great candidate for this scholarship. So to go through some of the application requirements, you will apply through the AFO scholarship application form, which I will actually show you a little bit later in our session, so you can actually get a feel for what the scholarship form looks like. And it's the form for all of our scholarship applications, except for the PCC scholarship, which I will also touch on later. But for the specific application requirements, we ask for a 500-word maximum essay, which ends up being around like 1 page, single space. It kind of helps you put it into perspective. And this is really touching on your community service and how you plan to use your degree in architecture to serve your community or Oregonians in general. And then in addition to your essay, we also ask for a 10-page maximum design portfolio. And this portfolio can feature architecture projects, it can feature creative projects, building or community focused projects, and it can also feature work that you either created in school or out of school. It's very flexible. We just want you to pick some projects that you feel really passionate about and that showcase your design skills. And so for the portfolio, we ask for 3 separate projects, and that you include images, graphics, written narrative, and really tell the story of the design process that you went through for each of those projects. And for the second half of this session, we'll really dive into some more tips on how to put together a successful portfolio. So stay tuned on that. And then lastly, the last application requirement for Hatfield is 2 letters of recommendation. And we ask for these to really speak to your commitment to community service. So one of the letters should come from a community member, and reinforcing your commitment to service. And then the second letter can be from a person of your choice. We just ask that it's not from a direct peer or a friend or a family member, because they will clearly have a very positive bias on your community service. So have it could be architectural faculty, another leader that you work alongside with, or even another community member. And lastly, just wanted to share that the application deadline is Sunday, February 23rd, and you have until the end of day that Sunday to get in your application. All right, and now I'll hand it over to Michelle to talk about the Hart Scholarship.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Black. I'm a principal at Carlton Hart Architecture, and it's always exciting to talk about this. This is a scholarship that we created to honor Bill Hart upon his retirement, and to just continue the work that he and CHA have done to really push for equity in the profession. So this is a $5,000 scholarship for a BIPOC student that is entering their last year of their architectural degree. So that can be a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, but really to help those students in entering that final year, just like get over the hump a little bit. So it is, again, it's for anyone who is a BIPOC student who is going to be graduating in 2026. We do have 2, I don't, Candace, if you'll go to the next slide, 2 requirements for this application, and it is a 500-word essay and the 10-page design portfolio, similar to the Hatfield. And it is made so if someone is interested in applying for both the Hatfield and the Hart Scholarship, you can do so with the same portfolio. So just as Candace said, the portfolio is any kind of design projects that you've been involved with. There must at least be one that you've done as an individual. And if there are other group projects, talk about what your role was on those projects. But it can be schoolwork or work that you've done elsewhere, in the community or on your own, but really just wanting to have see kind of your full range of work and the things that you care about. And the essay is really talking about what drew you to architecture and what do you see yourself wanting to do with that degree once you graduate. I think with all of these applications, just showing the things that you care about and who you are is the utmost importance in putting together a good application. Again, same application deadline, Sunday, February 23rd, 11:59 p.m.
Thanks, Michelle. And I know we are zooming through these things, so just so you know, we'll definitely spend some time answering any questions that you have. So again, write them down. Feel free to put them into the chat at any point, and we'll get to your questions. So moving on, oops, went too fast. Onto our third scholarship that we're going to share. This is our Shogwall She Who Watches Scholarship. And this one was established in honor of Lillian Pitt, who is a Native American artist of Warm Springs, Wasco, and Yakima descent, who was honored as AFO's Honored Citizen in 2022. And this award was specifically created to support Indigenous students pursuing art and architecture at Portland State University. So it's a $10,000 renewable scholarship, which means awardees can expect to receive up to $10,000 every year of school as long as they remain eligible and in the School of Architecture or the School of Art and Design at PSU. So it's really helping you throughout your entire education journey at PSU. And we open this scholarship to any students that ethnically identify as Indigenous of U.S. states and or territories. And this includes Native American, Alaskan Native, Native Hawaiian, and those Indigenous to U.S. territories, including Puerto Rico, American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So hoping we opened up eligibility this year to folks native to U.S. territory. So we're hoping more people can be eligible for this scholarship. And as I mentioned before, you need to be attending Portland State University specifically for this coming school year. So for the 2025-26 school year, which means that students who are graduating in the spring of 2025 are not eligible for this scholarship. But you can be an incoming freshman. So you can be a high school student accepted to Portland State University and planning to start in fall of 2025 or before, or you can be a transfer student going to Portland State University by fall 2025. And then, of course, you can be a current undergraduate or graduate student. Must be attending the School of Art and Design or the School of Architecture, as I mentioned before. And the last piece is that you must be enrolled full-time or at least 3/4 time for the 2025-26 school year. So the application requirements for this, again, there is an essay. This one is a little bit longer, so 500 to 1,000 word essay, asking you to share what inspired you to choose art or architecture as your field and what are your aspirations with this degree. And then for this this scholarship, we ask for work samples instead of our portfolio. So the format of submitting your work, it can be a bit more flexible, and we wanted to add this flexibility because the different degrees that are eligible for this scholarship, there's just a much wider range in medium and types of work that people can submit. So we accept things that can be auditory or visual. It can be a video, it can be an essay, it can be artwork. Really the range is very wide. But again, it's still an opportunity to showcase your passions or something, a creative project that you're proud of. And so for the work samples, specifically, we ask for 2 to 4 from undergraduate students and then 3 to 5 for graduate students. So you have a range in there, whatever you're able to point out and whatever projects you really want to highlight. And then we also really ask that you still show your design process. So lead the selection committee through like how you got to your final project or your final piece of artwork, whatever it might be, so we can understand your thinking behind it. So another piece of of requirements that we ask is verification of Indigenous heritage. So we ask that you either provide one form of documentation, which can be, tribal enrollment or membership card, or some sort of documentation from the tribe that you're enrolled with, or it can be a Bureau of Indian Affairs document, maybe a Hawaiian ancestry verification. It could be a letter issued by a tribe or even genealogical records. And we understand that since we're opening this up to such a wide Indigenous population, there are a lot of students who may not have access to, a tribal enrollment or membership card because maybe their culture doesn't offer anything like that. And we totally don't want this to be a barrier. So we are also allowing folks to just submit a 200-word maximum description of your heritage, just so we know that this scholarship is targeting the folks and the Indigenous students that we really hope to give these funds to. So please, if you have any questions about this piece, reach out to me and I'm happy to work with you on whatever you have to help verify your Indigenous heritage. And then lastly, we just ask for proof of PSU enrollment. So for incoming freshmen or transfer students, that can be an acceptance letter to PSU. And then for current PSU students, that's usually it's best to submit a transcript that shows your degree program and GPA. That's the clearest sort of information that we ask for. And then again, same application deadline, Sunday, February 23rd at 11:59 p.m. And I'll hand it over to Cinnamon.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cinnamon Williams with NAMAC Oregon, and we're excited to announce the first year for the Herman Colas Jr. Legacy Scholarship. NAMAC Oregon is a local nonprofit, and we provide education and empowerment to small businesses owned by people of color in construction and construction adjacent industries. This scholarship is for $5,000, and folks who identify as Black or Latinx qualify for the scholarship. And we're looking to have folks who are, I think we said they could be a senior in high school, correct? Yeah, so
Yes.
eligibility is Black or Latinx, incoming freshmen, so that means somebody who's a senior right now, getting ready to be a freshman, or folks who are current undergraduate students pursuing a 4-year degree enrolled in a Oregon Community College or university for the 2025 through 26 school year. We're looking for folks who are studying construction management, engineering, or architecture. And overall, we want you to have a desire to make a positive impact within the built community. So like most of the essays or most of the scholarships we've talked about tonight, we have a short essay requirement. If I remember, I've been out of school for a while, but I think 500 words is 1 page double space. Is that right?
I believe it's 1 page single spaced, but
Okay.
maybe my Google search was wrong.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in between there.
And I'm
Yeah.
also just much older than you, so. So we're looking for an essay, and we want you to talk about, describe why equity and inclusion in construction is important and how you will use your degree to affect positive change within the built community. And we want that to be in your words, from your perspective, and based on your lived experience. We also are asking for 1 work sample, and we understand that as a senior, that could be hard. And so I've thought a lot about how you might approach this. You could provide something from work you did as a volunteer, as a member of a committee, as an intern, or through paid work experience. If you're a senior in high school and you participated in any of maybe the modernization work going on at your school, and you acted as a voice for the students at your school and changes going on within school, you could use that, and you could take pictures of the before and after or anything like that. The key is that you describe what your role was in it, what part of the work sample is specific to what you did, and then you can describe how it impacts positive change in the built community. And then finally, we are gonna meet with the finalists in an interview, and that interview will be held by NAMAC leadership and also folks from the Colas Construction family, which is kind of exciting because Herman Colas will likely participate in this process. The application deadline is Sunday, February 23rd, 11:59 p.m.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Ruan Jarawira. I'm one of the partners at PAE Consulting Engineers. We are a 400-person engineering company that has offices from Seattle all the way down to LA and in New York. So this scholarship is based on our values around our vision is a world with clean air, energy, and water for all. And we're a triple bottom line company, which means that we value both our people, the community, the planet, equally with profit. So we are a for-profit company, but we place all 3 of those equally. And so as part of our Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee's goals, we have a JEDI 2040 vision. So a vision towards the year 2040, in which our company is a diverse and inclusive, not that it's not, but it's honestly, it's not very diverse. So we're trying to make it more diverse in terms of all diversities, but this scholarship is a $5,000 scholarship per year. So if you get the scholarship and you maintain your status in the degree program, it'll automatically renew. So potentially, if you're a senior or incoming freshman into a 4-year program, this is potentially a $20,000 scholarship. And this is for anyone marginalized by ethnicity or gender in pursuing engineering in any 4-year university in the United States and for students anywhere in the United States. It's not limited to Oregon. Ben's going to talk a little bit more about the details.
Yeah, thanks, Ruan. Ben Burnett, Senior Associate at PAE, and been helping Ruan put this together. We're excited to offer this scholarship. This is the first year that we've partnered with AFO to do this. So more details as far as eligibility. So identification as a person of marginalized ethnicity and or gender. So Black, Indigenous, person of color, women, trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, any of the above. As far as student status, so can be incoming freshman, transfer student, or an undergrad student. So we are targeting, 4-year degrees in engineering and specific types of engineering. We are selfishly targeting people who may come and work for PAE. So we're targeting mechanical, electrical, renewable energy, or architectural engineering. And then getting back to that mission and vision statement, we're looking for people who are, would like to use climate action and use engineering to make a positive impact towards that mission statement. As far as the application, so again, a 500-word essay, and in issuing that, we can go back to the vision and mission statement about, clean energy, air and water for all. We require financial aid information, so that can be pretty standard FAFSA documents or other documents. And then because we're specifically targeting certain programs, we also require proof of enrollment in one of those programs. Which is due May 11th. So that's intended to be after the commitment date for incoming freshmen or transfers. The application deadline, similar to the other scholarships, is February 23rd.
Thanks, Ben. Cool. And so I will hop into the last 6th scholarship that AFO administers, and this one is a little bit different. And again, we're going to spend a little bit less time on the PCC scholarship because it's actually run through PCC Foundation, and so it has a different application process, a different interface that you need to access it through and everything. So if you have any additional questions about this one, please reach out to me and I'm happy to lead you to the right place. But just to quickly go over what it is, really the intent of the PCC Architecture and Interior Design Scholarship is to increase access to the architecture and interior design field for first-generation college students, and specifically first-generation college students who are currently attending PCC. And we are really trying to target students who are entering their 2nd year of their associate's degree at PCC, and help them in that last year at PCC so they can smoothly transfer to a university to complete their bachelor's degree. So it's a $5,000 scholarship. As I mentioned before, you must be a first-generation college student enrolled in PCC's Architectural Design and Drafting or Interior Design program. There are some minimum credit requirements, which you can read here, which is specific to how PCC runs their terms. So just check that out if you're eligible for this. And then we ask for demonstration of financial need, and then also a preference for students with at least 1 year in the program. So really targeting the 2nd year students. So the application process, as I mentioned before, is slightly different. So instead of using the AFO application form, you're actually going to go to the PCC Foundation website and apply through them. And I know PCC Foundation just has one large general application for all PCC scholarships. So maybe you've already filled it out if you're a PCC student, but if you're applying for any scholarships through PCC Foundation, it's all through the same application. So it's cool. It makes it a lot easier to apply for a very large amount of scholarships at PCC. So I highly recommend doing that. You'll be eligible for much more than this scholarship if you go through PCC Foundation. And one thing to note is that the application deadline is coming up much sooner. So February 1st, which is actually really soon. It's this Saturday. So yeah, you have this week to fill out that application. And then applicants are notified of the selection in June. All right, so I know that was a lot of information. We're just going to keep going. And again, if you need to come back at any point, revisit any of this information, we'll have the recording and you'll be able to do that. So just to quickly walk you through the whole application process, and this is leaving out the PCC scholarship that I just mentioned since the application process is different. But for our other 5 scholarships, the Hatfield, the Hart, Shoglaw, COLUS, and PAE scholarships, this is the general timeline of events. So the first step that we like to say is to attend an info session and attend a workshop. So congrats, you already did that. You can check that piece off. We will spend some time today diving deeper into those specific application requirements that we talked about, like the essay and portfolios and work samples, things like that. But if you are seeking additional feedback on your essay or your portfolio and those pieces, we really recommend that you join us at our workshop on February 19th. If you happen to be in the Portland area, that'll be at Carlton Hart Architecture, which is in downtown Portland, and we'll be providing feedback on your essays and portfolios and whatever other pieces you have in your application. And it's a very low stakes workshop. You don't need to have your essay completed or have anything in a final form. We really do this so we can help you through the process and give you some feedback. And if you're not in Portland, since I know that a lot of the folks who are eligible for our scholarships are not located in Portland, if you would still like to receive some feedback on your application, please feel free to reach out to me and we can have some folks here review that for you as well. So the next piece is the application deadline. So as we all mentioned before, the AFO scholarship form application deadline is February 23rd. That's Sunday. And let me just go ahead and screen share what that looks like just so you can get a feel for it. So actually, let me show you. So this is just our General Scholarships webpage. And on our General Scholarships webpage, you can just get here by going to Programs, Scholarships from our homepage. This first section is where you can find more information about each one of our scholarships. So all the information that we just shared with you today lives on each of these individual web pages. So you can definitely find more information here. And just say you're ready to start your application, which I do recommend starting sooner rather than later, especially because you can save a draft of your application as you work on it. So you don't need to be ready to submit it the second you open it. You can you'll make an account so you can save a draft as you work on it. So from each of these scholarship pages, you can click Apply Now. It'll bring you to the scholarship application form. And this is what it'll look like on your end as well. There's some resources there, just some directions. And then you'll have to either create an account if you've never used Submittable before. But if you have used Submittable before for any other form, it doesn't have to be through AFO, you can use that same login. So I need to log in really quick. That's all right. So basically, once you log in, it signed me out. Okay, here we go. This is what it'll look like. So then you'll be able to see actually all of the different fields. So you'll put in your general contact info, talk about what school you go to, and then we have some demographics questions, which align with the eligibility for our scholarships. And then you get down to this piece, which is where you get to choose which scholarships that you're applying for. So just say you're not eligible for Hatfield, you just click no, but you are eligible for Hart, you can click yes. And then you can just go through and fill out each of those pieces. So I mostly like to show this just to just to demonstrate how you apply for all of those 5 scholarships on one application form. So you don't want to fill out like just the Hart Scholarship on this form and just say you're also eligible for the COLAS Scholarship. You want to submit them both on the same application form rather than filling out 2 separate application forms. So this is kind of like our large general scholarship form. If you're familiar with a lot of like general apps, this is kind of our way of doing that same thing. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Always happy to help you navigate any of those pieces. Let me go back to our slides. All right, and another thing that we always like to share is that if you are having any issues submitting your application electronically, we also accept applications that are printed and mailed to us. We just want to make sure that there are no barriers for getting the application in. So we just ask that you postmark it by the deadline, which is the 23rd, and you can find our address on any of those scholarship application pages. So throughout March is when all of our selection committees meet, and that's when we have those meetings to decide who will receive the scholarships. So another thing to note is that if you do apply for more than one AFO scholarship, which we recommend that you apply for all the ones that you are eligible for, it only increases your chance of receiving a scholarship. But please note that you will only be able to receive one per year. So if you're selected for the Shogwell Scholarship, you won't also be able to receive PAE funds in that same year. So just something to note. And if the selection committee does have any additional questions for you after we have our meeting, just know that I will be reaching out via email. So please keep an eye on your email throughout March because I may need to reach out for any reason. And just to explain a little bit about how the selection committees work. So basically each selection committee reviews applications based on a specific set of criteria that is specific to each scholarship. And we will break this down a bit more in the next section as well. But each selection committee is made up of different leaders from the design and building industry, and also a lot of our folks who are here with us today. So another thing to note is that if you do decide to apply for more than one AFO scholarship, those separate applications are being reviewed by separate people. So it's very okay to repeat some information and to repeat your story. You actually do want to make sure you're kind of starting from square one and base one in each of your essays, because somebody who's reviewing the Hart essay won't be reading your Hatfield essay and so on for all of the scholarships. So I know they're all separate sections on the application form, but it's okay to repeat information and use the same work samples, use the same portfolios and so on. And then lastly, so you can expect to be notified of the selection committee's decisions by April 1st, except for the PAE scholarship. So we have that later deadline in May for your enrollment verification. So PAE applicants won't be notified of the selection committee's decision until later in May. So just keep that in mind. But for the other 4 scholarships, you'll be notified by April 1st. And if you aren't selected to receive a scholarship this time and aren't graduating, we always recommend that you apply again and join us at the following year's workshop so you can get some feedback on your application. It is truly a competitive process, and we are always so impressed by the work that is submitted through our application form. So yeah, please just put your best work forward, and please lean on us for any sort of resources and help in putting it together. So to dive a little bit deeper into what the selection committees look for when reviewing applications, a lot of that is included in this next section of what makes a successful application. And these are just some tips and tricks for putting together your application. So we always tell all of our scholarship applicants the same thing. The first step is to really tell your story. And this is really the base for pulling together a really strong application. When you think about it, so our selection committee hasn't met you. And yeah, think of meeting these people for the first time. What what sort of story do you want to share with these people? Like, what are the strengths that you want to tell them about? What are your career goals? And how do you weave that throughout your entire application? So this is the step that really helps you create an outline that you'll use for the rest of your application. So one thing that is really helpful to do is think about your past, present, and future. So when thinking about your past, you can think about like, what have you experienced and what did you learn from those different experiences? And then bringing yourself to the present, how have those different experiences shaped who you are today and what strengths have come out of those experiences? And then also thinking about the future, what are your career goals and what impact do you hope to have? And another thing that we like to share is that the more your goals align with wanting to use design and building as a tool for community change, the stronger your application will be, because those are also goals that align with AFO and all of our community and scholarship partners here. So really think about how you will use your degree to create positive change in your communities. So keeping on the telling your story piece, these are just some questions that you can ask yourself to help kind of discover what your story is and how you might explain that to the selection committee through your application. So when you're ready, I'm not going to read through these, but we're recording so you can come back and visit. So please do come back to this slide. And when you're getting ready to start in your application, really just sit down and answer each of these questions for yourself. And that can be your outline for your application. So after you have really thought through the telling your story piece, what is it that that you really want to share about yourself that you think would be compelling and helpful for the selection committee to know? You can use that as a perfect outline for your essay. So no matter the prompt, at the core of every essay should be your story, including your present and future aspirations and what you hope to do with your chosen degree. So you can build on the outline you created from telling your story, and it's really helpful to just focus on one theme because the essays are pretty short. You know, just like a page, single space does go by really fast when you're telling personal stories. So it's easiest to sort of pick out like one experience or one sort of core idea that you want to focus on and have that be it, the main meat of your essay. And again, assume that you're meeting the selection committee members for the first time, so they don't know anything about you. So really think about how do you paint an image of yourself and your values throughout your essay. And please have someone proofread before submitting, and that can be us if you don't have anyone directly near you who you're able to lean on for some proofreading. And then here are just some extra pieces about each of the specific scholarships and what you can focus on for each one, what we're looking for. So again, please just come back to the slide. You can review any of those pieces for whichever ones you are going to apply to. Leave it here just for a second so you can read it. And we can come back to any of these at the end as well if anyone has any specific questions. All right, and I'll hand it to, oh no, here are some more essay tips. So as a recap, we just ask that you really touch on your past, present, and future, as we mentioned in the telling your story piece. And the numbered list down here, 1 through 4, these are actually tips from one of our past Hatfield scholars, and they wrote these up for us to share. And this is really how they approached doing their essay. So as we mentioned before, keep it short and simple. Don't overdo it. Really think about like finding one overall theme for your essay. And then she shared, be honest and true to what you believe in, share life experiences, keep a balance of level of detail, and make sure you reread and check for grammar. All right, and let's move into some portfolio tips.
All right, I know it's getting late into this presentation, so stretch a minute if you need to. Portfolio tips, it's very similar to the essay. So this is a chance to continue your story that you've already presented and what you're talking about in your essay. You know, I think the biggest tip we give is just make sure you're talking about the things you want to talk about. You're sharing projects you're proud of. You're expressing why they're important to you. I think people can get into trouble when they start to think about like, oh, well, what do you think the committee wants? Don't do it. don't go there. Talk just like we can hear when you're speaking from the heart, and when you're talking about things you care about, it really shines. And so as much as you can, keep true to the things that you love and what's drawn you to, whether it's architecture or engineering or construction. All of these wonderful scholarships just speak to what matters to you. And I think, whether you're doing a portfolio or you're doing a the work samples for Shoglaw or the different pieces for the PAE scholarship, they're really getting at the same thing, right? Like, how are you fully discussing or showing us what each of these projects are? And so some of the tips that really help are be sure you're, telling us the story, like what's the concept, explain the narrative of like why it's important, what you're trying to accomplish, show, progress from start to finish. Candace mentioned that earlier. So don't be afraid to show us the messy sketches that happened along the way. Or, as much as we like to see those finished, beautiful renderings or the final art piece, we do like to see like how you got there. And so, any type of process pieces that you can show is really helpful to, again, we don't get to sit in the room and hear you talk about these projects. So we really have to see it on the page. And, a lot of that comes into those process pieces. So it is really looking at the full story that you're giving us about each project. And so that combination of, concept narrative to, describing how you got from point A to point B, why this is important and what the program is for the project or the vision for the project. And then again, visually, what are some of those kind of early stages into the final stages is really important. And I'm trying to give you just a general overview because all of these different wonderful scholarships have slightly different requirements, but it really helps just to understand like, what's the big picture that you're trying to describe. Again, if you are submitting something that was done as a group project, we love group projects. There's nothing wrong with that, but do describe, what your piece of the puzzle was or how you worked together collectively. Cinnamon talked about some projects that might be relevant for the COLAS scholarship. That's your part in a bigger community project. That's wonderful. Talk about what the overall goal was for that project, as well as what your piece was on that is really important to discuss. I want to be very conscious of time because I know that we're short. I think I'm going to leave it at that right now, and then hopefully we'll get some questions about the specific examples. Again, I think read the scholarship requirements for each one to see what's specifically required. But really, as much as you can, you're telling, I think we can't say it enough, you're telling a story. So you're telling a story about yourself, you're telling a story about the things you care about and why you're drawn to these different professions. And also you're telling a story about each one of these projects that you're showing us and, why they're important and what makes them special. I will put in a plug for the workshop at CHA here coming up on the 19th. We had a small but mighty group last year, but it was wonderful. People came with a few essay prompts and just kind of general ideas, scribbled on a piece of paper. Some people came with just individual photos of different projects and different art pieces that they were thinking of putting up into their application, but weren't really sure which ones would show best or had a better story. And we just had, we sat around the table, we got to talk to each other, students and professionals alike, and it was really a wonderful experience. And so if you're feeling hesitant about it because you're not sure you're far enough along with your application, don't worry about that. It is really just an open invitation for everyone to come and talk about it, and we just work on it together and give whatever input we can, whether that's I did some diagramming of I think this piece of your essay should come at the beginning, and so it can be as basic as that, or really talk through kind of having someone start to discuss the concept of their art piece and us help give them some language that, I don't quite understand that. Give us more about that. And so I think that helped actually one of our winners last year kind of put some words to the things that she was struggling to explain. So it was really a wonderful experience, and I encourage you all, if you can. These are some great portfolio examples that we've had, just pages of people's portfolios, again, describing, because what I've been talking about, where this is obviously some beautiful renderings as well as early stage hand drawings up until the end, where they're showing us on that bottom right where actually materials that they're putting into it. So again, this mixture of, on the left, they're talking about kind of the big idea and then describing it more on the right. The one thing that's really important that some people forget to do is tell us what we're looking at. Right. It seems so simple, but if this is a drawing, an early sketch, you'll see here, it says process work, isometric perspective, renderings. Don't just assume that we all know what we're looking at. It all seems so straightforward in your head because you've been living and breathing these different projects, but do explain what the different images are. And especially sometimes we'll have a specific section cut in a building or something, just tell me what I'm looking at. It really is helpful. And here's another architectural portfolio page. Again, you see kind of this progression of the shape and how they've come from the overall program to put it into space. This was one page of a multi-page portfolio, but again, showing us different types of renderings as well as describing it in different ways was really compelling. And then I believe we have an example of the Shawglaw. Yes. So again, telling us what the materials are in this piece, the description, kind of the background of how they came to this, as well as showing, as simple as showing images from her sketchbook about how this design came to be. And then I love these images of as it's coming together and you're seeing the process of making it, and then her wearing it out in town is really great. So again, show us from the start of the concept to the end it's really helpful.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, so I know we ran through a lot of that, and there's a lot of words on those slides on purpose, so you can go back and really read through those different tips and just spend some time, running through those tips when you are starting to put together your portfolio or your work samples or your essay. So please go back and revisit any of that. But just some important dates to keep in mind. And one thing that is not reflected on this slide is the PCC scholarship deadline, which is on February 1st, which is this Saturday. So remember to apply directly through PCC Foundation if you're eligible for that one. And then we have our Portland Scholarship Workshop, which Michelle was just talking about, which is at Carlton Hart on February 19th. And really, this is not a high stakes workshop. You can really come with whatever you have, and there's no right or wrong in this space. We are really truly here to help you through that process, and are willing to look at whatever you have, even if it's just a sentence. We are here to help you through that. And then the application deadline, of course, is February 23rd for the Hart, Hatfield, Shawglaw, Colas, and PAE scholarships. And then we will announce our scholarship recipients by April 1st, and then also in May for a PAE scholarship. And then we also have a scholarship reception, which will happen sometime in early to mid-April. And this is an event attended by members of the design and building community, and really is a time where we recognize this year's scholars. So we invite you to that as well. And then I also just wanted to quickly share that we launched a new mentorship program earlier this year, that connects design students and professionals of color. And this is designed across all disciplines. So this includes architects or aspiring architects, aspiring engineers, graphic designers, product designers, and more. Any design in the whole use of that word. And so keep this in mind if you're looking for a mentorship experience, and our applications for the 25-26 season will open in the fall. And then in addition, as I mentioned before, if you have found that you aren't eligible for any of our scholarships, or you are just interested in searching for as many as possible, we have our Oregon Student Opportunities Hub, and there's a whole section dedicated to college students. So you can go scroll down to that section. Also, high school students. There are definitely some scholarships for high school seniors, and you can just check out both of those sections on our hub to find even more scholarships that you might be eligible for. And then you can find us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at AF Oregon. If you ever just want to follow us closely, as well as any of our partners, we post a lot about our scholarships on there. So it's a good way to stay updated on all these upcoming important dates. And then I also just wanted to share my email right here in case you do have any follow-up questions. Please feel free to reach out to me at any point.